This podcast is brought to you by Hello Future. Do you want to drive innovation in your organization, futurize your enterprise, expand your patent portfolio, create amazing new profitable products and services, or effectively project manage to market? Then contact us today, hellofuture.co, and get started.
Why listen to the past when you can listen to the future? Welcome to the Think Future podcast, broadcasting from deep in the heart of Silicon Valley, California. We focus on innovation, startups, and the future, not necessarily those and not necessarily in that order. Here's your host.
Hey, Scott.
Hi, how you doing? Oops,
Good, how are
go.
you?
Good. Let's adjust that just a little bit.
There we go.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, good to see you too. How are things?
Things are going well for me. Actually, I don't know if you noticed the new headset, but I think those were your recommendations from the last time we chatted.
Oh yeah, they look exactly like my other headset. Well, thanks. I'm glad someone's listening to my recommendations. That's good. That's good to know.
Although I feel like it goes with this aerial theme I have in my background. So I feel like
absolutely. You're like a like a radio guy on the bomber or whatever that is back there. I love it. So it's good to have you on the show. So why don't we just jump right into it? So tell me a little bit about yourself and your organization and what you're passionate about.
Sure. Scott Sommers. I'm currently the Vice President of Insights and Innovations for Shur-Tape Technologies.
By the way, I love your name. You sound just like a superhero.
Oh, I know.
Aren't you like the alter ego of Cyclops or something like that?
That's exactly what it is. If anyone's an X-Men fan out there, but I promise I don't have another set of glasses. This is the only one I have. So it's no mutant superpowers for me.
Yeah.
But I do come with the power of duct tape, and that leads me into my Shur-Tape story. So Shur-Tape, we're one of the largest manufacturers of pressure-sensitive adhesives or tape on a global basis. We operate all over the world, and we have brands here in the United States that most of the listeners would be familiar with, such as our Frog Tape Painter's Tape, our Duck brand duct tapes, T-Rex repair tapes, etc. So a whole portfolio of them, and I've actually worked with the company now for 20 years. And I've been in various roles from product marketing, kind of going from the marketing side into the sales side, helping build out our e-commerce business, and then have been in this role for the last year and a half now, just working on market research, insights, and new product innovations with a new team. So it's been a great journey for me here. A little background for me prior to this. I came out of the consulting world doing strategy, process, and technology consulting for retailers, and did that for a number of years, everything from Fortune 500 companies to dot-com startups. And my daughter was born the year that 9/11 happened, and making a decision to get into industry and transitioning out of the consulting lifestyle, being on the road all the time, it felt like a good thing for me to do. And who knew 20 years later, I'd still be with the same company, just having a total blast. But prior to that, I had my MBA from Babson College in Boston in entrepreneurship. So to me, there's a heavy correlation between the role of marketing and entrepreneurship, and that really, at the end of the day, it's all about opportunity identification, and then being able to rally the resources together to take advantage of that opportunity. So whether you do that on your own, external, in a true entrepreneurial function, or intrapreneurship, whether you're doing it within a company, still a lot of those same skill sets kind of come together. So I've really enjoyed that. I will say that over the 20 years, just to come a little bit current, over the 20 years, really seen a true change in the dynamic of the market for our products, our core flagship item, duct tape. And it's one of the things I'm passionate about, is really being able to find ways to take products that that might have a commodity angle to them and decommoditize them. And there's lots of different ways you can do that, through brands, through finding new markets and new end uses for these products to new pools of customers. But I'm really passionate about telling this story of our adventure of duct tape and translating that into other opportunities for our company, and helping people see that in the opportunities that exist within their own companies. So that's something that I think would be worthwhile talking today to your listeners about.
That sounds great. So was duct tape iconic before you started, or did you make it iconic? Was that you?
No, I can't. I can't take credit for that. No. And first, you raise a good point. First, let me say that our company is heavily team-based, and I just get to be here talking today, taking credit for the work of a whole lot of people within our four walls that really made this happen. So if I say I really mean we. There's a ton of unnamed people who just get all the credit for this, really. A quick background about duct tape itself. It was actually created by the Permacell division of Johnson & Johnson back in the World War II era, and it was an adhesive tape that was used to seal the ammunition cases that were being shipped off to Europe. And what would happen is, at least the stories I was told, is, people would be in the airplanes or on their Jeeps, and they would be taking the tape off the ammunition cases. And in that environment, you had to be really industrious. And they would use the tape to repair the Jeep, to repair the planes, to repair their boots, etc. Now, that original tape was kind of army green. And what happened was, after the war, when everybody came home, and during the housing boom of the 1950s, they were commercializing a lot of these military technologies, and tape wasn't excluded from that. So it took on the silver color that people know it today, and they started using the tape to seam the ductwork in the houses during that housing boom time, and hence duct tape was put into everybody's vernacular.
So is that why it's that silver color? Because it was for ducts.
It
basically.
Was originally for the ducts work. Yeah, the duct work in your house. DUCT.
Right.
And duct tape, DUCK, is actually the brand. So if I was to be really specific, it's Duck brand duct tape. But that's too hard to say, so I'll just say duct tape.
Yeah.
And one of the
but that just reinforces the brand too, right? Because it's everybody calls it duct tape because it's too hard to say duct tape too often. Correct. Right? So it slides right in. I love it.
So something that was really fun was that one of the entrepreneurial founder of our company here in Cleveland, the original Manco business, was a small Cleveland industrial company. They had, I don't know, it was like $600,000 or $700,000 in sales, and the company grew. That was in 1971, I believe, 71. And the company grew to over $200 million in sales by the end of the 90s, and then got acquired by a German company called Henkel out of Dusseldorf. And then in 2009, Henkel sold this to Shur-Tape Technologies, which was our biggest supplier at that time of tapes. And so now we're all vertically integrated. The plants are ours. We're making the tapes and doing more of the marketing. But Jack Cale, the founder of Manco, really had a brilliant idea to trademark the brand Duck, D-U-C-K, in the early 1980s. And we're really the first to really retail package the tape in that way and brand it in that way, and sold it through the mass retailers that you would know out there. And so it took advantage of that, the how phonetically identical duck and duct are for most people. So it's kind of a reverse Q-tip story in that we just own the brand, and people associate our brand strongly with the generic product now. So
very cool.
Yeah. So when I started with the company in 2001, something I always loved, I get on an airplane to go somewhere, and people would be like, "Oh, what do you do?" I would say, "I work for the duct tape company," and they would instantly stop me. And they would say, "Oh my God, my dad fixes everything with that stuff," and they'd start telling me their duct tape story, which I love. The one thing they love more than our product is telling their story. And I heard countless amazing stories of how somebody saved the day with a roll of tape, whether it was the family vacation, fix the RV, or, even older stories. It's just really great to hear all these different stories of how duct tape saved the day. And
you don't even have to ask for them. They just come at you, right? Because there's so many people have so many good experiences with duct tape.
Oh, it's just amazing. It's one of those things that you can pull out, doesn't require instructions, and you can pretty much use your own ingenuity and figure out how to make something work with the tape. And it's really truly, the current vernacular is to call it the makers community, right? The people who are those the makers and the tinkerers. But man, just to see the things that people have done with the tape are absolutely incredible. And what started to happen, we saw a number of letters come to the company in the 90s from what I affectionately call the blue-haired art kid in the corner, who was more that creative type. He made a duct tape jacket to wear to school to kind of say, stick it to the principal kind of deal. No pun intended. But that kind of irreverence attitude, but the creative nature of it. And so what we saw happen was, with the evolution of the iPhone being released in 2007, everybody wanted to be that creative person. Everybody was trying to be the blue-haired art kid in the corner, the Starbucks barista creative type, because they now had this new tool to take pictures and share, and social media started to evolve at that point. And so we saw this giant online community start to become created, and on our Facebook page, we quickly amassed nearly 6 million fans on our social media area.
Wow, fantastic!
And, we were very early.
You guys already had an audience, right? You just needed. It's almost like you just needed another channel to channel the audience.
It's correct. Well, and part of it was that this younger group of these creative types, they were teens to tweens. We had been talking to that group just because there was an anchor point with the creative type on our product. And we had started a contest in 2001 called Stuck at Prom. And it kind of started as a grassroots marketing campaign, and we were challenging kids to go to their high school proms in outfits made out of duct tape.
Nice.
And if you go to our website, if you go to duckbrand.com, you can see a section for the Stuck at Prom contest. I promise you will be blown away at the quality and caliber and craftsmanship of these outfits. And it's not what you would think. You might picture in your head someone wearing like a green tape dress. A gray tape dress. It's not. It's just incredibly creative.
Well, plus you have all these different colors now, right? It's not just gray. It's not just silver anymore. It's right. There's so much to it.
Part of that was to promote the fact that duct tape was available in colors that weren't just silver. And you get all the versatility and array of colors. And so this promotion for us, our Stuck at Prom contest, it was one of the few non-athletic, academic, or music-based scholarships that was available. So we had a lot of art students that would participate in it, and we got a ton of publicity off of it. If I was to tell you that program generated over 1 billion, yes, with a B, media impressions in the first decade of its existence, it was well worth the scholarship money we were giving away, and it was
fantastic.
It was kind of unique too, because the couple, each person would get $5,000, and we would donate an additional $5,000 to the schools back in the day, because it was a way to get the schools to accept the kids, that it wasn't a joke. They weren't showing up to do something offensive to prom, but it was really a great opportunity for the school too. So
I can imagine some of the more straight-laced schools wouldn't have been too happy with something like that.
No. So, but the participation's grown and grown throughout the years. Last year was our 20th anniversary of the contest. It's just incredible, and the way it's changed and the number of participants each year. It's really neat to see how it's been embraced. Now, I started to mention in that 2007-8 period, when social media really started to anchor in among that teen and tween group, we saw that there was a growing opportunity for us to really create some more products that would appeal to that demographic. And we had created some new printing technology that allowed us to do a printed version of the duct tape. So we started to evolve things like a tie-dye print or a fashionable pattern. and put those out in the market. And they really differentiated us from all the other traditional products that were out there, because we could just do these things that were really cool. And when we married that to the power of our social media and put an array of designs out and then asked the community, hey, which one of these do you want to see? They would force rank them. And all we really did was we're smart enough to listen to them and give them back the designs that they had selected.
Yeah.
It was really incredible. Now, from a business perspective, one of the reasons why I'm so passionate about this is that I believe that margin lives in emotion. That one of the ways you can decommoditize your item is find those emotional anchors and the things that people love about your products and build upon those, make it an experience, because they stop asking the question, what's it cost? And start asking the question, what do I have to give up to get it?
Right.
And because there's a value, an emotional value attached to it. So, one of the early challenges as an innovator within our company is how do you reframe people who have been looking at the product from a hardware perspective for decades and get them to understand that, a 12-year-old girl who's shopping at a mass retailer or maybe an art store isn't looking for 60 yards, which was the traditional silver tape. They only wanted a little bit of it, but they were willing to pay the same as the 60 yards because it wasn't about the utility value. It was about the pattern that was on it and the emotional value of the pattern or the exclusivity of them having the new, latest, greatest pattern.
Yeah. Well, how did you go from like, from my original thinking of duct tape, is it, it's just something dad used to fix stuff with, right? How did you go from are you going to tell us like how you went from dad's stuff that dad's fixed to what the kids think is cool?
Yeah. So I started to mention that during the 90s, we were getting letters from the art kids that were wearing the duct tape jackets and starting to make things out of duct tape. They were using it as a crafting medium, as a form of self-expression. So when our society changed a little bit with that evolution of the iPhone in 2007, 2008, kids were looking for things to associate themselves with that creative archetype. And duct tape was one of those genuine cultural drivers of that creative archetype. So we started to formalize that program by putting instructions on how to make a duct tape wallet or how to make a duct tape flower out there. And in early social media, some of those projects were propagated by other social media users. And the ever wonderful debate that we would see online between the spelling of the product, D-U-C-K versus D-U-C-T, right? It always went like this. I love duct tape, D-U-C-K. Then someone would post, hey, dummy, it's spelled D-U-C-T. And then someone would post, no, duck is the brand, so D-U-C-K is right. D-U-C, so it always, and then it would just go on and on and on. So it was really funny, but it truly helped in a very authentic way build the awareness of our brands among that community. So it was really neat. So it was a little bit of what I would say guided serendipity. We were smart enough to listen. We were smart enough to play into the trend that was happening online and the general interest. And then we just built upon that general interest and really linked our brand into it. And if you know our brand icon with the little yellow duck, it's kind of Disney cartoonish looking. So it's very relatable. It's very accessible. And the thing about duct tape that's so cool for that market is that it doesn't have to be perfect. I don't have to be perfect. I don't have to be hyper skilled, because there's something that's perfectly imperfect about when you use duct tape for something. And that just makes it super accessible for everybody to try. So that was really kind of the start of that. But if I was to tell you that portion of the business ended up outgrowing the size of some of our core commodity silver repair tape for a number of years, it really was very impactful to our business and growing our brand and making our brand matter in the market, especially anchored with our market share. We were already a dominant market share player in the silver product.
I can't even think of a competitor.
Involve it. Yeah.
I can't even think of a competitor. I only know about you guys. I don't even know if they exist.
Well, that's good. I'm not going to give them any airtime here. So if you don't know about them, I'm not going to tell you.
I'm not going to ask you for them. I'm just going to say I don't even know if anything other than duct tape exists, because that's the only thing I ever buy, and that's the only thing I ever see. So,
well, one of the things,
as far as I'm concerned, you're it.
Yeah. Well, we thank you for that. So one of the things that I love to tell people related to this whole story is that fast forward, 12 years after I started with the company, and I would get on a plane and I would tell somebody I work for the duct tape company. And the story that I would hear then is, oh my God, my kids make everything out of that stuff. So, that angle of the business had started to transcend the original core. It was still anchored in that father's favorite fix-all, but it had taken on this whole new meaning in this new tween teen demographic about what duct tape was. And I used to laugh. One day I was driving through my neighborhood, and honest, I saw a dad pushing his lawnmower up, and he had pink Hello Kitty duct tape wrapped around the handle of his lawnmower because he had repaired his lawnmower. And it made me laugh to think, I'm like, when I started, the kids would have to go down to the garage and steal dad's duct tape to go make something with it. And now dad needs to fix his lawnmower, and he's running up to the kids' room to take the kids' duct tape to fix his lawnmower. So it's
I love it. You've won when you see something
circle.
Like that.
Yeah. So it was really a fun evolution for our business, and a time to be involved. And we were launching all kinds of really cool. When you think about tape, right? How much technology can you put into tape? But you can put a lot of technology into tape. Trust me. And like our Frog Tape brand, Painter's Tape, talk about changing the industry. So it's a patented product. There's a micro-absorbent polymer that's on the edge of the tape that reacts with the water that's in your latex paint. So when you paint, it instantly swells on the edge of the tape and seals the edge of the tape. So when you remove that tape, you have a super sharp, crisp line, which, again, remember I said margin lives in emotion, right? So if you've ever painted, and just when you thought you were done with your paint project, you took that tape off, and then you saw paint bleed under the tape and a horrible line, you're so not annoying. Done, and you got to go back and clean it all up. Well, with Frog Tape, you don't have to do that. You just use that particular tape, and the technology solves that problem for you. So anyway, it's just it's been so much fun working with this company, and the personality of our brands and the fun nature of our products are relatable for a lot of people. So
it's very cool, because somebody who is entrepreneurial usually doesn't stick with a company, pun intended, for as long
right
for as long as you would, because you're going, oh, here's all these opportunities. But if you think about it, you're basically doing a number of different jobs within the same company. So as long as they're cool and interesting and different, and it grows you, why not, right? Why not stay where you are?
Well, and it's always trying to look at what's happening in the future too, and then figure out where the growth's happening and how to adjust. We were talking for a while, watching that whole creative type evolve through technology and being able to play into that, watching the DIY trends and all the painting design trends and playing into that with this technology. So it's we continue to look at that future viewpoint, and then try to decide how can we deliver those solutions into where the market's going. So that's a fun, it's just a fun task. And if I was to tell you, talk about longevity in your career with a company, and people talk to me like, well, you've been with the same company for 20 years. Isn't that boring? And I'm like, you know what, if I was to tell you that I've been able through duct tape to be involved in television commercial production. We did a pop-up shop off of Times Square in New York City one year with all about color duct tape. Project Runway, we were the non-traditional material challenge on a Project Runway episode. So
okay, I gotta find that episode and watch it, because I think it's gonna be hilarious.
Oh, it's amazing. And the caliber of, we have some of these dresses still in our office today. The caliber of this craftsmanship, it's incredible what you can do with this product. So it's just, and then it just popped up on my Facebook page, I guess was 5 or 6 years ago, I had a chance to be on national television on CBS Sunday morning. They did a little whole take about duct tape couture and this whole phenomenon that had happened in a market. So I even got to be on national news. So
nice.
For the right reasons, I got to be on national news. So it was just really, it's been really fun. So.
Very, very cool. So how does you were mentioning in your note that you wanted to talk a little bit about your sort of like life philosophies. How did that connect and play into your time at Duct Tape or Shur-Tape or whatever your company's called? I don't even know what your company's called anymore. It's just Duct Tape to me.
yeah. So the corporate name is Shur-Tape Technologies.
Okay.
And a little plug for my company because they're awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Fifth generation family owned company out of Hickory, North Carolina.
Nice.
It's one of the things that's helped with the longevity of many people with our company is just the caliber and quality of the owners, of all the executives. They're nice. A phenomenal group of people, and we have a giant rock outside our office in Avon that's engraved, and it says, "Our people make the difference." Mm-hmm. And it's truly a deeply caring philosophy about the people that you choose to work with.
Fantastic. I love it.
We're not commodities to that business. We're not numbers. It's really it's just that type of family environment. So I really cherish being part of it. But your question was about my personal philosophy. So one of the things that I really love and stick to is this whole concept of Eastern.
No pun intended.
Yeah, Eastern versus Western philosophy. And in Western philosophy, or culture, there's a lot of if-then attached to your happiness. Mm-hmm. If I get this job, then I'll be happy. If I get that big house, if I get this particular car, if I get this promotion. And the issue with all those things is that you're attaching your happiness to something that's scarce. There's only so many of those cars in the world. There's only so much of that house or so many of those jobs. And so we live in a world where we're anxious about our own happiness because I've got to compete with everybody else around me.
Yep.
Not for the job, but for my happiness. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And so how am I going to treat the people around me if I'm competing with them for my very own fundamental happiness? Yeah. And the reality is there's an alternative. And the alternative can be shown to us in some of the Eastern philosophies where they discuss things like happiness is a choice. You can wake up every day and simply choose to be happy. Mm-hmm. And it sounds really strange, but it's true. It's a choice. And then when you live in that mental perception of happiness and choosing to be happy, it's not attached to anything scarce. It's abundant. Yep. Happiness is abundant. It's infinite. Love is abundant. It doesn't mean every day's unicorns and rainbows and sunshine. It's not. But you can choose to be happy. And then what will happen is you will actually attract into your life all those things that fundamentally support your happiness.
Yep.
And there's a gentleman here in the Cleveland market. I saw him speak one time. He told this great story, and I'll send you the link after. His name's Param. He was discussing the story. He said, so picture a BMW convertible in northern New Jersey pulling into the driveway with these two teenage girls, and the one's crying as they pull up in front of their mansion because they just came from the mall and they weren't able to get the latest iPhone that was just released because they were out and their life is over.
Of course.
And then flip to the next picture, which is two kids in India on top of a garbage pile, smiling in the sunshine, playing with an empty can and a piece of string.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, if you think about it, I mean, this discussion, have you seen those things where they talk about your outward appearance changes the way you feel? So if you want to feel more powerful, you put your hands on your hips and you do the power move, and the other studies which say that, no matter what happens to you, you always level out at a certain level of happiness. Like if you win a lottery, you're happy for a while, then it comes back down, or something horrible happens to you, you're unhappy for a while, but then it comes back up. Because it tells me that it's not external things that dictate your level of happiness. It's totally from it. It totally comes from within. But we've forgotten that fact.
Mm-hmm. It's very true. And so one of the things that I'm really grateful for with my company is they provided me with the opportunity to truly be an entrepreneur. So about 10 years ago, actually, I know it was 10 years ago this month, I had an opportunity.
Happy anniversary.
With my wife. Thank you. With my wife to open an indoor cycling studio here in the Cleveland market. That was dedicated to indoor cycling, that is rhythm-based and all about teaching you a growth mindset, basically while you're having a dance party on the bike. And
nice.
Oh yeah, by the way, the cardio workout happens, but it's really more about working from the inside out.
Mm-hmm.
And hence the name of the studio is called Cycle. It's PSYCLE. I
love it. Did you come up with the name, or did your wife come up with the name?
No, we came up with that. It was a discussion. So
nice.
we'll share credit on it, because the whole thing's a labor of love.
I love it.
But the basic premise of it was to give people the opportunity to step into that atmosphere and work on themselves from the inside out. And when you think about what I was talking about abundance versus scarcity, one of the things that we're so proud about the community is that you step in, and the people on the bikes next to you, they're not competing with you. They're actually trying to lift you up, and they want to see you be successful. They
Mm-hmm.
want to see you succeed. And they know that their success is not dependent on beating you. If you succeed, they can still succeed. And if they succeed, they're trying to lift you up with them, because that enhances their own feelings and emotions of happiness and success. So, it's just really interesting how many people I've watched over this decade transform their entire lives by stepping into that room and getting to that very edge, their edge of their physical capacity, and then realizing that it's just a choice to take one step past it. And in that one step, everything changes. They physically grow, they mentally grow, because they realize they're stronger than they thought they were. And once you practice and realize that it's about the process, and that you just can't do it yet, but if you practice and practice, it will come to you. You'll
Mm-hmm.
get there. And then you start to enjoy the journey of the process, and it becomes its own reward. Then all of a sudden it translates outside of that room of bikes, and it starts to have implications in a positive way on your personal relationships, on your marriage, on your work life, it's when you fundamentally believe you deserve it, and you live from that place of happiness, your life starts to change all around you in those ways, in very, very powerful, fundamental ways. But it starts with that recognition of that difference of philosophy, that you wake up and you have a choice. And today I'm going to choose to be happy. So we also express, there's light and dark in every day. And
Mm-hmm.
what you choose to look at is what defines your day. So you can choose to look at the light, and that's what your day was. Your day was light because you saw the things that were light about your day. And conversely, someone who had the exact same day but looked at all the dark things, they had a pretty lousy day, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's still the same day.
Yeah.
So you choose your experience based on what you want to pull out of your environment and the meaning you assign to it within your own mind.
Yeah, it's like Anthony Robbins made this metaphor. He's talked about your memories are like a jukebox, right? You can either decide to play certain good memories over and over again, or you can play the bad memories over and over again. But it's up to you to decide what memory you want to replay. So if you want to make yourself feel bad all the time, you just replay all these horrible memories, and it's back to your choice again. So that's really cool. So I'm really curious about how that works, right? Because in a typical, Soul Cycle type of thing, you get in there and, everybody's fighting, like trying to compete with each other. How do you do that? Like actually in class, like if somebody's coming from some other service or some other company and they're expecting competition and you don't give them that. I mean, how does that work in practicality?
You know what? In pragmatic terms, it's a matter of the instructor saying, this is not a race. This is not a competition. We're not fake bike racing here. You're in a dark room and a bike
That's
going
what everybody
nowhere.
else does, though. So that
and you know what I say, that's okay. That's okay, because there are certain people that prefer that environment. There are certain people that their minds gravitate towards that, and that's what enables them to get what they're trying to get out of class. So, one of the key things I'm always talking to people about is differentiation. We don't need to be the best at what we do. We want to be the only ones that do what we do.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So it's there is a place for everyone, and they're going to find the place that fits what they're looking for. But fundamentally, we explicitly say our bikes. Here's a great example. I don't know if you've ever practiced. Have you ever practiced yoga?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Okay, so have you ever gone into a yoga class and seen a leaderboard up on the front and been told to out yoga the person next to you with a number assigned to it? And
no, never, never.
God, my shavasana is better than yours. I gotta breathe a little hard. No, it doesn't work that way, right? So it's just a different type of.
See, now you made me think of a new. Can we have competitive yoga?
Competitive yoga. I'm quite certain someone's tried to create that, because there are certain mentalities that gravitate towards that, and that's okay. It's not right or wrong. It just is. So it's just not what we do. So our bikes are intentionally old school chain bikes with a weighted flywheel. They're gritty and you feel them, and it's an experience. And we do that by intention. And it's disconnected, because guess what? We go to work every day and our lives are so measured and so connected. This is your 60 minutes to turn off your watch, turn off your phone, be there for you and actually think, because no matter how hard you try, your Fitbit is never going to read happy.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
unless you can hack it and program it.
Unless you can hack it and program it, right? But if you attach success of that ride to a number on your Fitbit, you're setting yourself up to fail, because there's only so much time and output. And I'm not saying that there's not value in measuring things ongoing so that you understand whether you're making progress or not, but there's a tremendous amount of value that can be unlocked for most of us by spending that 60 minutes disconnecting.
Mm-hmm.
And I love it. What's happening here?
I want to travel there and check it out, because I think it's really cool. Are you planning on expanding to other locations, or?
I get that. I get that a lot, and we're not offering classes.
When are you starting a cycle in San Jose?
So we'll get you to Cleveland someday and get you in a class. I promise you won't be disappointed. But it's the reason why our website's called cycletherapy.com is because it's all about that working from the inside out.
Oh my God, I love it. This is great.
But I bring up all that because I take that entrepreneurial mindset, that growth mindset, and I apply those same teachings to my teams at work. I work with the people in my office about that, and I bring that energy, positive energy and mentality to duct tape.
I love that. That's so cool.
Everybody wins, and I really I'm so grateful to the owners of our company for giving me this opportunity, because not every company would allow people to do that. And now 10 years later, the side hustle, as everybody calls it, I think I read statistically that 2/3 of American corporate workers have some type of side hustle.
Oh yeah.
So I
because it's usually their job is not the thing that they love. It's their side hustles that they love, but they can never make enough money at the side hustle. So there's always an imbalance there, unfortunately.
Well, I think the benefit for my wife and I, she works in insurance full time. She's a great career working for her company, and the studio, the roots of it, I think part of why it works is because we don't have to pay our bills with it, and we use it as a mechanism to give back to the community. So, and we can be very generous with that because we don't, because of that situation. So that gives us something that's a little bit different in our market. So we're grateful. We're grateful to our clients. Our mantra is rock, ride, love. The rock is obvious, the ride's obvious, and the love's the community and that nurturing space that makes it safe for people to come in and literally transform their lives. So
Fantastic.
I'm a little passionate about that portion of my life, but I'll tell you what, I'm equally passionate about duct tape because I love the product. I love what we do. And I think, I tell people inside our company all the time, I'm like, how many people do you think had their weekend saved because of our product? How many kids' soccer games were saved? How many moms got home because they had a roll of duct tape in the car with the kids in the car and they were able to fix something to get them home, or their family vacation was saved? So there's a real sense of genuine purpose and satisfaction to be had when you deal with a product like that. So it's, I'm just trying to live from that perspective of gratitude and purpose in all facets of my life. So.
I love it. I know you're not a superhero, but the stuff is like a superhero, basically. And we can do so much. I love it.
Hey, trust me, I say all this stuff, and if anybody out there has actually figured it out, please give me a call and let me know. All right. I'd love to talk to you.
I love it. Yeah. Okay, so now it's time to think like a futurist. It's the year 2031. It's 10 years from now. Where will you be? Where will your company be? Where will what's it called? Cycle,
yeah.
Cycle. Where will Cycle be in 10 years?
So, I think one of the things, where will I be in 10 years? I really hope I'm still here as part of this company, making a difference for as many people as I can, both inside our company and out. I love our products. I love where we're going. I think the evolution of technology, we're working on some things to link tape with digital things. And I can't be more specific than that at the moment, but it's really exciting when you start to see the application of technology with these everyday physical products, and the things you can do with them are super cool. So 10 years from now, I hope that that's a big part of our business that's been realized. And I think the markets in general, geez, I was just telling somebody I finished grad school in 1998, and Google was in its infancy. And I was thinking about how the fact that we barely used search engines and the internet to get through grad school, we didn't have iPhones to do all that.
No.
And it's just been 10 years later, all that stuff existed, right? So I think as I look 10 years in the future, geez, I hope I don't have to drive anymore. I really hope that most of the vehicles are autonomous, not because I don't love driving, but I think that our time can be infinitely more productive in those moments. And I think most people are probably on their phone instead of driving anyway right now, based on my observations. So it'll be safer for all of us.
The sooner we can get human drivers off the road, the better, if you ask me.
The better. But I think that technology, I think we're going to find that there's going to be a real balance. One of the lessons learned from this year is that we can do really, really hard things as a community, as businesses, as citizens. And coming through, I hope we take that into more hybrid environments with more flexibility and more inclusion for all of us to really recognize and understand that there's the expression's equifinality, multiple paths to the same end. And it doesn't have to look like what we might have concretely put in our minds. It had to be like, you have to be in the office 5 days a week in order to run this business. No, you don't.
Yeah.
Says who?
Yeah.
And we've
proven it.
We just proved that you don't have to. Now, we've also learned that, 100% hybrid environments present a lot of new challenges. So I think 10 years from now, the business models are going to be really, really exciting and cool and flexible in ways that we can't even imagine right now, because technology is going to continue to evolve. And so as we work in a more global environment with global teams that, geez, what's time going to look like? It is our current definition in as little as 10 years of what the work week is. That really has an opportunity right now to radically evolve.
Oh yeah,
what
absolutely.
Our definition of the work week. So I think that's one facet where our lives, it's not work-life balance, it's work-life blending. And so what is your week-to-week calendar going to start to look like as we get into these non-traditional work weeks and non-traditional environments? I don't have the answer for that. If I did, I'd probably be working on something right now to solve it. But I will tell you that I think it's really exciting to keep an eye on the technologies that are enabling that type of flexibility. even as we all want to work remotely, I mean, geez, wouldn't you love to be in Hawaii for 3 months a year, and
Oh
if you could
yeah,
go out there and
absolutely. And then
work
if you
from
think about
Hawaii
like
and be
even the
remote?
concept of a week is
Right.
gone, right? Because it's like you can decide to work whatever days you want, in between whatever you want. And there's the monolithicness has disappeared because work is now little blocks that you can fit in between your leisure and your time. So
Right.
if it breaks up like that, I think it's all in the best interests of humanity, because we get to spend time on what we want to
Right.
in the time we need to, as opposed to being forced to go from here, the point A to point B. And especially if we could kill commuting, I think we'd be golden.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think there's two facets to killing commuting.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, autonomous vehicles, because that time now becomes productive time.
Yep.
Number two, electric vehicles, where it's replenishable power, so it's far less impactful on our environments to be doing that commuting. And these things are definitely going to happen. I mean, that's happening now.
Mm-hmm.
And then this hybrid work environment, which is going to reduce the overall stress associated with commuting. Number one, because your car is going to do it, and less people will be doing it because of these hybrid environments. So I think it's going to be really exciting. I mean, it's may you live in interesting times. We certainly do. Lots of difficult things from this last couple of years, but lots of opportunities for us to take those lessons and truly move forward in new and innovative ways. So
yeah, what I want to see is building your own tiny home using duct tape and some types of boards, because the housing crisis is crazy, especially in places like this where it's super expensive. I mean, you'd think it'd be easier to create something small and cheap that you could house people in. And I see duct tape as part of that dream somehow. I don't know how you would do it, but maybe you have super large duct tape or something like that.
Well, there's I mean, the idea of pre-manufactured housing is absolutely a growth area among construction. Now, part of that's tied to the issues associated with contractor trades in general, having difficulty attracting people. But guess what? Those trades can't be replaced by an algorithm. So I think that's certain things that our economy is going to evolve into as certain work dynamics shift as a result of AI implications on more the white collar workforce, how some of those things are going to shift around. Plus, when you talk about global communities and global opportunities, it could be 10 years from now, you're working for an Indian company in the middle of the night, flowing through everything in a non-traditional way that couldn't be facilitated even with today's technology in the same way. Yeah. But I could be living, actually, hopefully continuing to live, because Cleveland is Cleveland is underrated as a city. The cost of living here is amazing. If you just look up real estate, and you'll know why I relocate. I love Boston, but when I relocated to Cleveland from Boston, and I could buy a giant house for the same price as a starter home there, and be close to one of the largest sources of clean fresh water in our country. It's amazing.
Well, that's the other thing that's happening that's really interesting, is that all these people who are living in these sort of coastal cities in huge population centers where it's super expensive are now starting to move into other places in the country that are less expensive, like Cleveland, and they're kind of revitalizing and changing those communities, right? I mean, it's like the whole country is like leveling out. Instead of having too many people in one place, they're leveling out because they can work it from anywhere now.
For sure. And I think one of the one of the interesting things is if I'm in the San Francisco market right now, being paid a wage that's consistent with the San Francisco market, and I go remote, well, how long is it going to take that company before they realize that if I'm living in Cleveland and my cost of living is 40% lower than San Francisco, why am I paying you a San Francisco rate? I can actually now attract talent into my company that's in other geographies at a much lower cost.
Exactly.
But then that's also going to start to take on a global dynamic over the next 5 years too, because well, if I'm going to pay you less to work for my company in Cleveland, why wouldn't I pay even less to go to some developing nation that has a educated group that could do this for a fraction of what I'm even going to pay you? And that's going to become the transient nature of our workforce on a global basis, or at least a facet of it. Maybe not within the next 10 years, but certainly over the remainder of my lifetime, I expect to see that.
But I can totally see that sort of thing happening where, suddenly you're no longer having to work for a US company. You could be working for an African company or a Russian company or whatever. It's like the employees and the employers are going to be, geographically dispersed all over the world. And most people will probably just become gig workers, right? I've got 5 jobs, but that's not a thing you have to look down on me for. It's oh, you have 5 jobs? That's great. Right, because you have all these different sources of income, so you don't have to worry about one company going under due to some kind of disruption, because you've got these other sources coming in. And I think that's going to be back on the worker's head to be responsible and be able to sort of juggle all these jobs at the same time, instead of having that one monolithic thing that people are working for.
Right, and think about what the dynamics, the ripple effect of the dynamics and things like health insurance would be if I don't have a main company covering my health insurance. And how is all that going to evolve in our country? I think it's going to be fascinating. I think it'll be a long time before. I still believe that hyper engaged workers that are really part of your company culture and believe in the products and believe in the company are your most effective and impactful resources, and they're the ones that stay and continue to contribute that value. I don't know, as we get into these hybrid environments, I think you need some type of hybrid environment in order to facilitate that type of culture. I don't know if I've seen, or maybe it has yet to be created, a great way to do that remotely. There's some good examples out there. I'd be happy to read about them. I'd love them. It's an interesting area to spend time in. I don't know, how would you create that? How would you feel attached to that company and get that sense of purpose contributing to a bigger organization if you're just doing little gig pieces? But
I think there's an upside to that, because you're bringing other insights into the company. It's kind of like having turning all of your employees into consultants, right? So they're working for you most of the time, full time, but then they can bring in ideas from other sources because they're interacting with other places, things that they wouldn't normally do if they were, working for you full time. So there's lots of different of these work models that I think we're going to be experimenting with, because we're trying. Now, I love the fact, see, on the one hand, COVID was horrible, but on the other hand, it kicked off sort of like this wave of disruption and new thinking, which unfortunately, it seems like we have to have some kind of a crisis to move us forward in things.
Well, there's always a crisis, right? Always.
It's one after the other, right?
Right. Well, and it goes back to the philosophy that we discussed earlier, right? If you're waiting for stability and a lack of crisis to create happiness in your life, you're never going to be happy, because there's always the next thing. And I think that's part of why everybody's so anxious these days, right? Because we're all, find stability within yourself that allows you to be calm in the face of all the crisis, the external crisis.
Exactly.
And that helps you navigate that a lot.
Exactly.
And again, if anybody out there has figured that out, please let me know. I'd love to know how to do it.
I like your terminology. I always say I always laugh when somebody says, "Oh, then we'll get to steady state," and I'm like, "There's no such thing as steady state anymore, unless it's in your head, right? Unless you've internalized steady state. But outside, everything changes all the time, and that's the nature of life, right? That's the nature of life, and you have to embrace that, because
technology and connectivity, the pace of life is going to continue to exponentially increase.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It's part of why we're going to look back on today and the pace, which we think is so rigorous today. And, part of the 10-year from now question, we're going to think, God, we wish we had this pace again. We wish we had another year to all just sit inside and be connected again.
Exactly. That's for sure going to happen.
That quiet time, when I say connected, it's so it'll be really interesting. It'll be really interesting to see that evolve. I'm super excited for it.
Yeah, me too. Well, thanks so much. This has been fantastic. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you, what's the best way?
Probably my work email, which is ssummers@shurtape.com. That's SHURTAPE.com. Or find me on LinkedIn.
Okay,
Definitely
very cool. I'll put all contact information in the show notes. So if anybody wants to get in touch with you, it was great talking with you, and I can't wait to visit Cleveland so I can try cycle. I just
sure you
like
connect with me.
The mental picture I have of it is like phenomenal. So I can't wait to give it a try.
And when you come here, I'll give you a tour of the duct tape capital of the world.
I'd love to see that too.
Ohio. So you get to see the world headquarters of duct tape.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It's great talking.
Thank you. Have a great day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Bye.